Throughout New Ponyville, barely a sound was made. Few ponies roamed the streets, and those that did kept their heads down and their hooves moving quickly. In their homes, Unicorn, Pegasi, and Earth ponies alike either spent time with their family or gathered their belongings together. A few grabbed a large tool or heavy object that they could use as a weapon, and fewer still strapped old pieces and scraps of armor to their flanks. The announcement by Trixie had reached every pony's ears, and the atmosphere was grim. Some clung to hope of victory, but others settled for hope of survival as they gathered what spare food they had left. The calm before the storm lulled the town to silence, if not inactivity. Every pony prepared for the coming night. For Rainbow Dash, the calm was already over. She glided near the cavern ceiling towards the guardhouse, her anxiety mounting with every flap of her wings. The silence in the town below was lost on her as her own mind echoed with her thoughts. Having no outlet for the tension inside of her, passing above a bridge to the guardhouse, she allowed herself to drop slowly back to earth, focusing on the task before her. She touched down outside the guardhouse and pushed her way through the doors. Dash was surprised at the lack of activity inside. Ponies sat in silence or low conversation all around the room, the colors of the guards' uniforms on every pony's flank. Although most of them sat idly, they were not lounging by any means. Helmets glinted off every head, and more than a few nervous glances were cast towards the door when Dash opened it. These ponies were as prepared as they were going to ever be, and now had to wait until the storm arrived. Dash cast her eyes around the room, her query standing out easily. Catching her eye, Big Mac stood and nodded wordlessly, walking towards the stairs. Rainbow Dash made her way around the ponies cluttering the room, and fell into step behind him as they made their way to the level above. Dash passed a number of rooms as they made their way towards the deserted hallway before finally arriving at a seemingly unmarked one. Big Mac grabbed a key ring from the peg beside the door and inserted it. Instead of turning it, however, he turned to Rainbow Dash and spoke for the first time. "If you try to let her escape again, I'll be locking you up with her." Big Mac's face held no hint of malice, instead seeming almost sad. Dash nodded, knowing that he was probably going against orders by even letting her into the building. Big Mac turned and left, and Rainbow Dash forced herself to bring her troubled mind back to the ground. The door seemed to loom in front of her like a portal to an abyss, and with tremendous effort she reached out a hoof to push it inwards. She froze as her hoof made contact, her worried mind racing. "It's not too late," she begged herself, "and you can still turn and leave. Let Twilight handle this. She's much more level-headed than you." Dash's hand recoiled for just a moment before she caught herself. "No, this is my problem. Come on, Rainbow Dash. Stay cool. She's just a pony, like any pony else." Dash didn't push the door open so much as she let herself fall forward, the gateway to her own personal demon opening easily, despite her reservations. The captain lay in the bed, hooves crossed behind her, as she stared at the ceiling. Hearing the noise of the door, she turned around and froze. Standing in the doorway was a mirrored version of herself. Dash's face was unreadable as both ponies stared at each other. "I knew this was coming," the captain told herself. "Now, play it cool, just like I planned." Dash was the first to speak, her voice already seemingly tired. "Why are you here?" was the simple question, her voice flat and emotionless. The captain sat up, looking around the room. "I don't know," she answered. "I honestly expected to wake up in the dungeons again. I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised." The captain looked back towards the mayor in the doorway, who looked none too amused at the question dodge. Not wanting to start off on the wrong hoof, the captain spoke again. Sorry. Just trying to lighten the mood. I know you're probably mad about the whole kicking you into the boxes thing. The captain trailed off, and Rainbow Dash's face remained impassive. Look, I think we both have questions for each other. I'll answer yours if you answer mine. All right? Dash nodded and walked forward numbly, the door swinging gently closed behind her. The room was sparse and windowless, but a single desk and chair were present. Choosing instead to remain silent, Dash repeated her question. Why are you here again? You told Rarity you just wanted to fight, to be over. I do, the captain replied instantly. But Trixie... Look, I didn't lead her here, if that's what you think. She followed me the first time, and was about to kill me when you came by. The captain looked down at her hooves, knowing that her face was blushing. Thanks, by the way. Dash forced her face to remain unreadable, but her voice was incredulous. Right. Trixie just happened to follow you to New Ponyville, and has, for some reason, taken an interest in antagonizing us again? The two branches of military for Nightmare Moon aren't working in conjunction. The captain threw out her hooves, gesturing to the room around her. Do you see any shadow bolts full? If they knew where I was, my men would be breaking down the doors to the town if it meant butting a rock with their own skulls. The captain lowered her hooves, glaring daggers at Rainbow Dash. I had no reason to lie to Rarity then, and I don't want to come back here. Trixie was going to kill me as a power play for Nightmare Moon, and you saved my life. Just take my thanks and shove off. She crossed her hooves and looked away, biting her pride. Dash wanted to sneer at the unmasked Shadowbolt, but she knew of Trixie stopped her. The arrogant mare would be the kind to jump at the chance for fame and power in Nightmare Moon's service. And if the captain was anything like herself... No, she's nothing like me. She's working for the enemy. My turn. The captain interrupted Dash's thoughts. I told you once that I came here to show you who I was, but that was only half of it. Twilight is dead, and I am definitely me. So how are you here? Dash thought for a moment, but couldn't see any harm in answering the question. It's a long story. Dash struggled for a starting point, and settled for the beginning. Applejack was helping me practice a trick when I crashed into Twilight's library, and she wanted me to help her with a spell. Something went wrong and we ended up here. Dash saw the captain nod, and the Shadowbolt spoke up. Another world, huh? I figured it had to be something like that. Trixie kept bragging about some egghead stuff like that around the time she finished her mass teleportation research. Wait, what? Interrupted Dash, leaning forward despite herself. That's the spell Twilight cast to get us here. Trixie knows how to do it? Dash had completely forgotten about keeping her face impassive, her visage now betraying her hopes. The captain recoiled. The burst of emotion in the carefully sterile room surprised her. Yeah. I don't know much more than that. She used it to get me here, and her army here as well, but I wouldn't count on her telling you. Dash collected herself, snapping her stance back carefully, and she adopted her previous composure. She couldn't help but look at the captain a little less warily now. The Shadowbolt's surprise hinted at her unease. For the first time, it occurred to Dash that the Shadowbolt might be as nervous as she was. Dash was about to ask another question when the captain spoke again. That doesn't count, by the way. The Shadowbolt also recovered from the earlier outburst, trying to sit on the bed nonchalantly as she made idle conversation. Dash winced inwardly as she recognized her own trick, not sure whether she was glad to have the insight or upset to see the similarities. You didn't answer my question. Between you and Twilight said to me the last time you were here, I had already figured out most of that. I wanted to know how your world got to be so different from ours. The captain paused, her voice dropping just a little. how did your Twilight live? The question made Dash pause. So far, not even her closest friends in this world had questioned her so closely about her home. Dash had chalked it up to them being too occupied with her own problems, but now that she was faced with a question, she wasn't sure where to start. Twilight came to Ponyville about 10 months ago, on the same day Nightmare Moon attacked. The captain nodded, letting Dash know that they were on the same page so far. We got the elements of harmony, and then defeated Nightmare Moon, turning her back into Luna. Then Celestia came and... Wait. The captain interrupted. Back up. The elements of harmony actually worked? Dash blinked. Well, yeah. I guess they didn't work for you though, right? Dash tried to remember what Fluttershy and Pinkie had told her of the night. Your Twilight got her element of harmony, and then Nightmare Moon killed her. The gravity of the situation was returning to Dash. Oh, Celestia, Twilight died. She looked towards the captain in horror. Is that what I become without her? So, in your world, Twilight got her element of harmony, and the day was saved. Just like that? The captain seemed troubled to Rainbow Dash, like her mind wasn't really on the question. Yeah, and in your world it didn't for some reason. And there were a bunch of lame tests for each of your friends, right? Dash knew that the captain was going somewhere with this. She could feel herself getting antsy, not sure what to expect next. Yeah, there was a sea serpent for Rarity, a big cliff for Applejack, and even though Fluttershy and I actually saved Twilight there. Dash tapped her chin with her hoof, trying to remember all the details. And Pinkie laughed at some trees, and I had to repair a bridge after turning down an offer from the shuttle. Dash's heart skipped a beat, and the silence in the room suddenly became deafening. Dash looked the captain in the eyes, from across the room, seeing the same confusion that she felt. Dash spoke, but the words were quiet and hoarse. You took their offer, didn't you? The captain looked up at the staring Rainbow Dash, her cheeks flushing with anger. You mean you turned them down? She hissed. Of course I did. The Pegasus huffed, stomping a hoof. My friends needed me. So what if some pony stunt team wanted me to be their captain? Dash looked down at the Shadow Bolt, but she stared back stoically. They offered us everything we ever wanted, and you refused so that you could fix some stupid bridge? What? I helped my friends save the world, yelled Rainbow Dash. You betrayed them to Nightmare Moon. Dash took a reflexive step backwards as the realization sunk in. The elements of harmony, they didn't work because... Oh, Celestia, this is all your fault. This is all my fault. Nightmare Moon is a god, fool, the captain snapped. But Rainbow Dash barely heard her as her inner thoughts consumed her. Some stupid rocks couldn't have been able to beat her. Dash turned her eyes back to the captain, her gaze suddenly hardening. You! She screamed, all pretense of self-control gone. You killed Twilight. You did this to Equestria. You betrayed the spirit of loyalty for personal gain. No, I didn't, the captain yelled back, sitting up in the bed. I didn't owe those foals anything. Nightmare Moon made me an offer, and I took it. Where's the harm in that? You betrayed them, cried Rainbow Dash, her own disbelief manifesting as repetition. How? Why? How could I have betrayed them? Just because they live in the same town as me doesn't mean I should have thrown away my dreams for them. The captain leaped to her feet, yelling back at Rainbow Dash. They were your friends, and you threw them to the wolves. Righteously fury filled Dash, her every word dripping venom. But you damned the world for power, of all things. How can you claim to still be loyal to anything? How can you claim to have cared about loyalty at all, you idiot? I'm the one who thought about what loyalty means. The captain's words stunned Rainbow Dash momentarily. She had expected an apology, or a tirade about how loyalty was useless, but the captain still considered herself loyal? She's insane, Dash thought to herself. She's completely deluded if she's managed to rationalize this. The captain continued, her voice lowering in Dash's silence. You sold your life and dreams away to some random mares that you didn't even like. You just gave yourself away like a cheap gift. The captain stumbled over her own words, disbelief coloring her face. How can you call yourself loyal when it takes nothing to earn your loyalty? Dash was quick to reply. How could you hate them? They're the best friends I could... How could you not? The captain interrupted. Pinky was just annoying and random. Rarity was obsessed with how she looked. Applejack was stubborn to a fault, and Twilight was just some random egghead that I hadn't even met until earlier that day. And I was supposed to throw everything I wanted away for them? Dash hesitated. It was true that it had taken time for her friends to grow on her, and she probably would still dislike Pinky if she hadn't discovered their shared love of practical jokes. But, no, you're wrong. Dash lowered her wings back to her side, her surety calming her voice. You knew what would happen if the elements of harmony didn't work, and you... The words betrayed didn't seem to fit anymore. Switched sides for personal gain, at every pony's expense. The captain stood, walking forward until her face was just inches from Dash's. Nightmare Moon had already won. Celestia was gone, and I had to choose between trusting some stupid rocks or following my dreams. Dash snorted, and the captain could feel the hot air on her face. And you, she continued, as her face wrinkled in hatred, sold your loyalty for dirt. Your words about it mean nothing when it's given freely to any passing stranger. And yours means nothing when it's brought by the highest bidder, retorted Rainbow Dash, shoving her head forward until it connected with the captain's in a loud clonk. Nightmare Moon earned my respect, instead of just holding me back as some weather pony for the rest of my life, snarled the captain, pushing Dash backwards with her head. It doesn't matter what she bought it with, pushed back Rainbow Dash, regaining lost ground. You still sold it to her, instead of sticking with your friends. They weren't my friends. What's the point of being loyal if it doesn't take anything to earn it? They would have been. Loyalty means nothing when it can be bought or sold. You're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're... Dash caught herself. Her vision was literally filled with the face of the captain as they butted heads. But she took a mental step back from the scene. She hated to admit it, but if there was one pony who could be as stubborn about arguing as she was, it was her. A realization struck her, and she grinned. You're lying, she finished triumphantly. If you didn't care about her friends, then why did you ask me about Twilight? Huh? The captain's gaze faltered, and she drew back a bit. I was just curious, okay? She looked down at the ground, and her voice lowered. Look, maybe I felt a little bad. I didn't like her, but that doesn't mean I wanted her to die, you know? Dash's anger settled slightly. She didn't want to feel any kind of sympathy for this monster, but at least she wasn't a cold-blooded killer. Taking a step back of her own, Dash took a slow breath and continued. If you never wanted her to die, why did you help Nightmare Moon? You must have thought that when you joined the Shadowbolts. I did. The captain kept her eyes on the ground, and Dash couldn't see her face. I tried to think of everything, considering the chances of every outcome, kind of like how Twilight did, I guess. Celestia was already gone, and Nightmare Moon did have a reason to be angry, and she wanted me to lead the Shadowbolts. It was either that, or trust some stupid rocks to save the world. The captain looked up, but Dash was surprised to see tears. I knew ponies might die, but they could have died either way. But actually seeing it happen with Twilight... The captain trailed off, but Dash was still thinking hard. So after she died, you all ran, then you attacked Nightmare Moon. If that's what you're thinking. The captain glared at Dash defensively, her shoulders uncomfortable. I know what I did was questionable at best, But I owed those fillies nothing. I guess I didn't really consider the big picture until Nightmare Moon killed Twilight. The captain lowered her head and paused. There's a big difference between knowing that some pony might die and watching it in person. Despite her words, Rainbow Dash could hear the defiance in her voice. But I acted rashly then. There was a lot I didn't know, and attacking Nightmare Moon accomplished nothing. So you aligned with her at the bridge, regretted it after Twilight died, then nearly got yourself killed when you regretted that, too? Something like that. The captain nodded. I wish it was simpler, but I don't have an easy way of explaining it. In the end, though, I knew who I wanted to choose. I avoided finding my friends after that night because I knew they wouldn't understand. I don't understand, Rainbow Dash yelled, throwing her hooves up in frustration. Fluttershy and Rarity, and even Applejack all regret having to do what they have done to survive. But you caused all this, and still don't care? Dash pulled at her face, trying to wrap her mind around the concept. I just don't get it. I do care. I don't like seeing the world like this any more than you do, fool. The captain's face contorted. Her eyes glazed over. I know that this is a little bit my fault. But how could I have known? As far as you just not getting it, maybe that's where we're different. The captain paused, and her voice sank with a sigh. I can't imagine how you choosing them over your dreams make any sense. So I guess you feeling the same way about me. Fine. Whatever. I don't need to justify myself to you. She paused, and Dash released her grip on her head as the pain finally registered. But I've spent every day since that night trying to hold what's left of Equestria together. So don't you dare say I don't care. Dash opened her mouth to yell back, but caught her breath as she looked at the captain's face. It looked determined, sure, but Dash caught the faint glimmer of moisture as a tear rolled down the captain's cheek. Rainbow Dash sighed, her frustrations draining softly. When I learned who you were, it all made sense. You had betrayed your element of harmony, just like every pony else apparently had. I figured the fight with Nightmare Moon was staged, at least. I know, the captain said glumly, but I made my choice. I didn't care what those fillies thought of me after that night. Once I took the Shadowbolt's offer, I knew that was the end of the 6 of us. Dash saw the captain draw a hoof across her face, wiping away the last of her tears. I've become a lot of things since then, but I'm not a liar. I never betrayed them, regardless of how you judge me. There was a long pause as both mares collected their thoughts, and Dash avoided her gaze. She heard hoof steps a moment later, and heard the movement of springs as the captain sat on the edge of the bed. Listening to the silence that filled the room gave Dash time to think about what the captain had said, and it kinda made sense in some parts. But it wasn't right. It couldn't be right. It's your turn, came a voice from the bed. Dash lifted her face to see the captain on her back, staring straight at the ceiling with one hoof behind her head. It would have looked relaxed if her body hadn't been held so rigidly. Huh? Dash mumbled, distracted by the sight of the captain. She tries so hard to keep her cool. Can't she tell she isn't fooling any pony? To ask a question, the captain finished. Her body tensed on the bed. I asked you about Twilight. Now it's your turn. Dash shook her head. Oh, I should ask her to help, she thought to herself as she bit her lip. Since that was Twilight's plan. Even if I don't like her, I can't let Twilight down. But would she help if I asked? Dash sat on the floor, making up her mind. Do you regret it now? Working for Nightmare Moon and leaving your friends? Under the same circumstances, I'd make the same choice. The captain answered without hesitation. Yeah, I know, you've made that pretty clear. Dash rolled her eyes. But that's not what I'm asking. The captain didn't move, and Rainbow Dash grimaced as she recognized her own telltale signs of indecision. When the captain didn't answer, when she did answer, her voice was slow and certain. I wish my world could have been as happy as yours is, if that's what you mean. Who wouldn't? I guess The captain rolled over quickly, glaring at Dash. Look, foal, it doesn't matter anyway. I helped her, and I have to live with it, all right? She flopped back onto the bed. What good did regrets ever do any pony anyway? Because if Trixie ever starts that invasion, all those girls you nearly died saving will die. Rainbow Dash walked over to the bed, but the captain didn't react. You said you did your best to spare Ponyville, right? Well, it needs help again. No matter what Twilight says, this town won't live through an actual war. Once Trixie finds out exactly where the entrance is, it'll be a massacre. Unless we have our own army. Look, foal, I won't... You said you've been fighting day and night to hold this world together, right? Well, here's your chance to do some actual good. Rainbow Dash paused, but the captain remained silent. As we speak, Twilight is working to put Rarity and Applejack out of power. With your help, we can turn this town into something worth protecting. Rainbow Dash looked down at the bed, extending a trembling hoof towards the captain. I hate myself for it, but I don't hate you for everything you've done. If I did, I'd have to hate every pony here, or just be a hypocrite. But even if there's nothing in this town worth saving anymore, even if there's nothing in this world, it doesn't have to end like this. We can stop Trixie, prove that not everything is lost. Will you help us?